Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our virtual transfer family orientation today. We're happy that you could join us to talk a little bit about how you can best support your student through their journey here at Towson University. My name is Catherine Kanaus. I am the Assistant Director of New Student and Family Programs at Towson, and I work primarily with our families. So if you need anything throughout your student's journey here, I'm your person. Please feel free to contact us in the Office of New Student and Family Programs, and we're happy to assist however we're able to. So with me today, I have a colleague. So Grace, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace. I'm the Student Director of Family Engagement, and I'm a senior nursing major.
So Grace is the expert on all things Towson and about student life here. So if you have questions specifically for what life is actually like for a student, Grace can help us out. I do want to cover some housekeeping. So we're going to see a lot of different presenters today, and you might have questions for them. If you have questions, the way that you can submit them is through the chat function. So at the bottom of your Zoom window, there should be a button that has a little speech bubble that says chat. Feel free to chat them to me, and then I will ask them to our presenters. That just allows us to be efficient with our time and make sure that everything's clear and legible for everyone involved. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with a presentation about some general resources that you might want to know about so that you can give those to your students. So I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about supporting your tiger. A little bit about Towson University, in case you weren't involved with your student's transfer process. Towson University has about 22,000 students enrolled, and most of those are undergraduate students. So about 20,000 of our students here are undergrads. Half of our students enter as transfers, and I think that's important for y'all to know because they will not be alone as a transfer student. They'll have lots of folks who are in the same boat as them, transferring from all kinds of situations. So whether your student is transferring from a 2-year college, from another 4-year college, they will have lots of peers who are encountering the same challenges as them. Towson has 6 academic colleges, so your student will be affiliated with one college or another, depending on which major they choose. And we offer a diverse community where students are exposed to different backgrounds and perspectives. Our student body, our faculty, our staff, all represent very diverse identities, and that's something that's important to us here at Towson University. So we're always happy to share that. Some things that we want to think about as your student transitions is that this is a major transition point for everyone. So even if your student has already done the college thing, starting at a new school is still a transition. As a college, we are committed to the student experience, and so we're here to help them. And we're also committed to providing students with the opportunity for autonomy and growth. We're hoping that they can learn some skills that will let them do for themselves, that will encourage them to develop some critical skills for the rest of their lives. And so we hope to provide that here at TU. We hope that you will stay involved with your student throughout their educational experience. We know that students who have an involved support system from home, whether that's parents, whether that's an extended family, whether that's partners and spouses, siblings, students who have that critical support network do better in school. And so we hope that you'll stay involved to some degree. And we hope that you know that everyone's asking for help. You would not be alone if you're asking questions, if you're seeking support. So we hope that you truly will take advantage and encourage your student to take advantage of some of these resources here at TU. Some tips that we have to make sure that your student's transition to Towson goes smoothly is to discuss expectations early, both your expectations of your student and what they're hoping to expect from you. Communicating about those needs and following up with communication about if those needs are being met can eliminate a lot of potential conflict as your student transitions to TU. Encouraging your student to get help when they need it is also a critical role that you can play as a supporter. I will say that sometimes we find students wait just a little too long to seek help. When you might have the perspective to say, you're not doing so well in a class, maybe you want to seek some tutoring, a student might wait until they fail an exam. And so that's a place where you might step in with a critical conversation about, it sounds like this class is really challenging for you. What resources are you seeking, and how can we make this work for you? So encourage your student to seek help early, and that is the best way to ensure a good result. It's okay to make mistakes. I always tell families that there are very few mistakes that your student is going to make here that are unrecoverable. Most of them are great learning opportunities. And so if your student is having challenges in academics, in their social life, it's a good learning opportunity for them to work through some of those. And so we hope that you will help them process those experiences. We hope that you will continue to support them. But it is okay for your student to make mistakes, and we expect that they probably will. Succeeding in college comes from self-motivation and resiliency. So when your student is transitioning here at to TU, they might find some things that are meaningful to them that they have not experienced before. Maybe they change their major to something new and exciting. Maybe they find a club or organization that changes their career path. That's exciting for us because we know that students who are on the path that they really resonate with do better in school. It's easier for them to motivate themselves to study, to explore new material. And so we hope that you'll encourage them to seek those things that they're passionate about versus telling them what to do. That is often a recipe for failure, because if they are working off of external pressure from you, they're not necessarily finding what drives them. Some other things that you can expect as your student transitions into TU is that we have unique policies and procedures. Every college is unique. Even if we're talking about similar things, we provide similar services. It's important to know that assuming that our policies and procedures are exactly the same as your students' previous school might create some challenges for you. So it's good to have just the knowledge that we might have different policies than what you're used to. Since TU is a new institution for your student, they'll have new opportunities and experiences, and that can be really exciting, and it also can be really overwhelming. So we hope that you'll help your students sort through some of those opportunities for what might be best for them. And then transfer shock is a concept that refers to the fact that many transfer students, not all, but a lot, experience a dip in grades in their first semester at their new institution. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they are truly struggling. They're never going to succeed at their new school. It is related to students assuming that because they knew what they were doing at their old school, that information will automatically translate, and being surprised that that is not the case. And so as much as you can help your student prepare to navigate those new policies, new expectations, new ways of doing things, maybe increasing level of course difficulty. If they're transferring in as maybe a sophomore to a junior, they're going to experience upper level classes. As much as you can help them navigate those experiences can help mitigate some of the impact of transfer shock. Now I'm going to go into a few resources that are helpful for many of our students. And we hope that you will, again, encourage your student to take advantage of these. They are included in your student's tuition, so they're already paid for. Why not use them? So the first one that I'm going to highlight is the Cook Library. That's our main library here on campus. It does have a 24-hour study space. So if your student, especially is living on campus, but maybe they're commuting and just need a quiet space to study, they do have access to that through the library. The library also has a lot of great resources for your student as they navigate their academic requirements, like subject librarians and research assistants. So if your student is working on a paper or a project and needs research assistance, that can be provided through the library. So hopefully your student will take advantage of that. And then, like most libraries, they have access to books, articles, periodicals, all sorts of materials are available through our library, and our librarians can help your students seek resources that might not be housed directly in our library at the time. They've got a ton of online resources. There's a lot going on at the Cook Library. The thing that the students love the most, though, might be the Starbucks inside. The Counseling Center is another great resource for all of our students. And like I mentioned, transfer shock, the Counseling Center could be a good resource for your student to navigate some of that. So some of the resources that they offer are individual counseling. So that's a one-on-one session with a counselor. They do provide same-day appointments. So if your student finds that they are in crisis and need support, they will be able to see a provider that same day. Those sessions are provided to our students in their tuition, so there's no cost to see a counselor. They also provide group counseling. Group counseling can cover anything from different identity groups have some group counseling. There are some issues and problems that have group counseling sessions, and so that's available to our students. The meditation room is very popular with our students to just relax and relieve some stress. And then the Counseling Center does have peer educators so that students can talk to other students about their issues. I love the folks who work at the Counseling Center. They're great colleagues, great people, and really truly have your students' best interest at heart. So please encourage your student to use them. The thing that I always like to mention and make clear is that your student does not have to be in a mental health crisis to use the Counseling Center. The Counseling Center is for everyone. So we hope that they can take advantage of it to live their absolute best lives. The Center for Student Diversity is an office here on campus that houses the majority of our multicultural organizations. So we have a lot of organizations here on campus based on around identity. So if your student has an identity that's particularly relevant and salient to them, they can often find an organization to find folks who share that identity. They also host many of our key diversity speakers and cultural competency workshops for the whole campus. So they stay really busy and they're a great place for our students to explore. They do have physical space on campus too. And so many students find that that's a comfortable space for them to study, to meet up with other students, and to just be on campus. So some resources particular to transfers. We do have a transfer mentor program. That program matches your student with a faculty or staff member here at TU for their first semester that they've transferred in. I've served as a transfer mentor for several years, and it's really nice to be able to get to know someone, for me to get to know a transfer student, but also for a transfer student to have the reassurance that they have someone's name and contact information on campus and that there's always someone who's kind of cheering for them here at TU. And we also can help point them in the right direction for any needs that they might have. Giving them these kinds of resources, pushing them to take advantage of them. So I highly recommend the Transfer Mentor program for all of our transfer students. We do have some social events specific for some transfer students. And the plug I will make is that our student hosts lots of events during Welcome to TU, which is between the on-campus move-in day and the start of classes. So this year that will be in the range of August 25th through 29th. And in that time, we will host some events that are particular to transfers so that they can meet each other and feel like they are in a community. And then there's also SGA representation for transfer students. It is a unique population and we want to make sure that they have their needs met. So there is a transfer representative on the Student Government Association. Another great resource for your student is the Tutoring and Learning Center, and they provide a lot of resources as well. So the most obvious one is tutoring, so one-on-one or small group tutoring for particular subject areas. So they don't cover every single class on campus, but they cover a lot of different subjects where they can provide tutoring to your student. They also facilitate workshops and academic coaching. And the difference is that tutoring would be about a specific subject, whereas the coaching and resources are about academic skills, things like time management, study skills, how to take good notes. And so those can be really helpful to our students. They also help organize study groups. So if your student is looking to study with someone in the same major, taking the same courses. And they're also the office who is in charge of supplemental instruction, or SI. What SI is when a student who's been successful in the course, they've gotten an A, takes that course again with your student in order to run additional sessions to support their learning. And so not all of our courses have supplemental instruction available with them, but if it is listed and designated as a supplemental instruction course, your student might benefit from participating in those extra sessions. So I always like to turn it over to Grace after going through all of those topics to see what kind of resources she's felt are most helpful as a student.
I would say all of the resources mentioned are extremely helpful. Some that I've definitely used a lot would be SI sessions, which is the supplemental instruction. I've always found those really helpful because it's actual students leading the sessions helping you. And they've taken the class, they've done well in it, and now they're taking it alongside with you. So they know exactly what's being covered. And I think that like it's always a little bit more comfortable if you're struggling in a class going straight to like another student at first rather than sometimes going straight to the teacher. But I'd also say definitely encourage your students to go to their professor's office hours as much as possible. I always hear so many professors say that they have these office hours and they end up just sitting there alone the entire time and nobody visits. I would definitely recommend having your students visit their professor's office hours, even if they're not struggling in the class, even just to like have some extra time to go over things and even just to then like help make sure that they can establish a connection with their professor. Because I think it's always going to be better if you go to your professor early on, because then who knows, as the semester progresses, the content gets more difficult. It doesn't look the best if they show up, the week before finals being like, hey, can I get some help? And they haven't done anything all semester. One thing that I did freshman year that I found really helpful in one of my hardest classes, it was biology. There was actually a small group of us, about like 4 or 5 of us, who every single Thursday after class, we would all go to our professor's office hours together. We would be able to review things together with the professors. It was a little less intimidating having other students there. And then sometimes we'd even be able to help each other. And then we actually formed our own little study group. And then like we got to know the professor really well. So I found that really helpful. But yeah, all of the resources mentioned, I think are extremely helpful and sometimes underused by students. So I would definitely encourage your students to use them as much as possible.
Thank you, Grace. You've heard it right from the source. So make sure your student is relying on some of those resources and contacting their faculty. Excuse me. So to wrap up a little bit, we just want to remind you that you are really important in your student's journey. Even if your role is changing as they transfer here to Towson University, your support is really needed and really helpful to their success. We hope that you can be patient and tolerant and continue to support them as students change their mind. I always like to remind families that the average student changes majors 3 times. So if your student is choosing a different path than what they've been on, we're happy to support them and we hope that you will too. Hopefully you can encourage some resiliency in your student. They will encounter some challenges. That is just the way things are. And so we hope that you will help them problem solve, learn from those challenges, and keep on. And then we hope that you'll take care of yourself too. You've worked really hard to get your student to this point. We appreciate that you are trusting us with your student. And so we hope that you will celebrate this life milestone as well. So today during this virtual session, we're going to hear from the bursar and financial aid offices. We'll hear from Housing and Residence Life, who's missing from the slide, Academic Advising, the Health Center, and the Towson University Police Department. So like I mentioned, as we go through these presentations, if you do have any questions, some folks have already been popping some into the chat. Use that chat function, send me any questions you have, and then we will get them answered for you. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing this presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Tom and Hope from the bursar and financial aid offices.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Tom Ruby. I'm the director of the Bursar's Office here at Towson University. I'm better known as the Chief Bill Collector. One thing I would like to share with you, I was a parent of a Towson University student. My daughter got her undergraduate degree here at Towson as well as her master's degree. Now, the bursar's office has two primary functions. We are really the student business office, but we have two primary functions. The first function is to bill, and the second function is to collect. So your student will be doing some registration for the upcoming fall semester, and based upon that registration, your student will be billed for the semester for their tuition and mandatory fees and any other ancillary charges that may be associated with their enrollment. Now, here at Towson, we are trying to be a green campus. We're trying to eliminate the destruction of trees, turning trees into pulp into paper. So we're really trying to be a green campus. So we will not be sending any paper bills home. We have an e-bill system, electronic bill system, and we have a business partner called TouchNet who helps us with that e-bill system. Now, your student will be getting an email from the bursar's office once there is an e-bill available for them to pick up. And that email will direct them to the TouchNet e-bill portal. They will authenticate themselves and they'll be able to pick up their e-bill. Now, their e-bill will be itemized from the standpoint of tuition, all the mandatory fees, which is auxiliary, athletic, technology, SGA, any other charges such as a meal plan, or if the student is living in inventory, housing inventory, which is Towson inventory, not capstone. I repeat, not capstone housing, but university housing inventory, that will also be itemized on the bill. If your student signs up for a parking permit and wants to have that parking permit posted to their account, that will also be itemized. Any other ancillary charges will be itemized on the bill. I'll give you another example. Here at Towson, many of our faculty members have set up an electronic textbook system whereby instead of buying a textbook, the teaching material is available electronically. It is a digital access system, and there would be a fee associated with that access that is transferred to the student's account by the university store. Now, here at Towson, we bill every semester. So there would be a new bill for the spring semester once your student registers again. Now, here at Towson, we do expect to have the bill paid in full, and that's how the class schedule is confirmed. Full payment is required for the class schedule to be confirmed. Now, if you could just go back to that slide for just one moment, please. If there are any new charges that come on the account after the initial fall bill is paid or the spring bill is paid, there will be a monthly statement. Again, your student will get an email from the bursar's office. It will direct them to the TouchNet e-bill portal. They will authenticate themselves and they'll be able to pick up their monthly account. That monthly account will also be itemized. Now, here at Towson, registration privileges are suspended if there is a balance more than $250. So if there is a balance on your student's account, they will not be able to register if it is more than $250. That's how we do business here at Towson. Could I go to the next slide, please? So here is the date that your student's bill will be due, September 8th. Now, our continuing students, their bill is due on August 3rd. However, we do recognize that incoming freshmen and transfers, they need a little bit more time to maybe work out some issues as it relates to financial aid or other means of how the bill will be paid. So your student's bill for the fall semester will be due on September 8th. Now, we only offer that extended due date for the initial fall semester. The spring semester bill will be due in early January, and then your student, if they're registered for the fall of 2022, that bill will be due in early August. Next slide, please. Now, let me talk about the methods of payment. We do accept cash here at Towson University. However, please don't send any cash through the mail. If you'll come to the bursar's office, to our payment center, we'll be happy to take your cash. We'll give you a receipt. If you're paying by check or money order, please make the check or money order payable to Towson University. And in the memo section of that check or money order, please note your student's name and their TUID number. That will help the Bursar's Payment Center staff to make sure that that payment is posted properly. Now, here at Towson, we also utilize TouchNet as our payment portal vendor. And we are finding many of our students and their parents are taking advantage of an ACH or an e-check payment in lieu of a paper check or money order. It is very easy to utilize. You would come to the payment portal. You would identify that you would like to pay electronically with an ACH or an e-check payment. You would identify the bank routing number, the account number that you would be using for the deduction, and the dollar amount that you want to pay. It is an electronic process, and it would be immediately posted onto your student's account. There is no fee. I repeat, there is no fee associated with an ACH e-check payment. Now, we do accept wire transfers. So let me give you an example of a wire transfer. Maybe you're dealing with a credit union, a bank, another lending institution, and they want to make the payment in your behalf by wire to the university. We are happy to accept wires from a credit union or a bank or a lending institution. However, there is some information that you need to provide them so that the wire transfer is successful and that the wire transfer of those funds are posted to your student's account. That information is on the bursar's website. You would come into the bursar's website and find that information on our website and then share that with a credit union, the bank, or the lending institution so that the wire transfer is successful. We accept also third-party payments. Let me give you some examples of a third-party payment. Maybe your employer pays some or all of your student's cost of education. That would be a third-party payment. Maybe your student is receiving VA benefits. That would be a third-party payment. Maybe you are a member of Maryland Prepaid College Trust 529 or another state's pre-college trust 529. That would be a third-party payment. And we accept all those types of payments. However, this is what we need you to do. You need to contact the bursar's office and let us know that there is a third-party payment involved for your student's bill. We'll be able to note that on your student's account. And in some cases, we may have to help you invoice that third party for the payment. Now, a little information about Maryland Prepaid College Trust. Here's how that works. And it also works very similar with other state 529 prepayment college trust programs. What you want to do is go to their website. There is an authorization form that you're going to go ahead and make a copy of, and you're going to complete that. And you want to identify that you want to have the payment made payable and have it directed to Towson University. That's the most expeditious way to get the payment to the university in lieu of having the payment made to you, and then you in turn are paying the university. That this delays everything. Now, you're going to also include a copy of the e-bill along with that authorization form and submit that to the Prepaid College Trust, and they will process everything based upon that authorization form and the e-bill. Now, credit cards. We here at Towson University do not accept credit cards for semester bills. We just don't take it. However, our business partner, TouchNet, they do accept credit cards. That would be Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. They accept those credit cards. However, they do assess a convenience fee of 2.85% of the amount that you would be charging on the credit card. Next slide, please. Here at Towson, we do offer an installment plan. We call it the Tiger Installment Plan, or we also like to call it the TIP. And you can schedule as many as 4 monthly payments for the cost of education for each semester. Now, it is self-enrollment. You would come to the bursar's website. There is a link for the Tiger Installment Plan, and you can identify your budget as it relates to how you want to set the 4 payments up for the semester bill. Now, there is a small enrollment fee for the Tiger Installment Plan, and you would also need to select how you would be making that payment electronically. You would select either an e-check or a credit card payment that would be deducted each month of the payment plan on or about the 10th of that month. That's how this works. I utilized this for my daughter's undergraduate education. It worked out very well in lieu of having that one balloon payment that would need to be made to confirm the payment of the bill. Next slide, please. So there is a Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, better known as FERPA, that the university needs to comply. And what that means is that we can only disclose information about the student's financial account or the financial aid account to the student. We cannot disclose anything else other than to the student as it relates to those 2 financial accounts. Now, your student can complete the release of information form, which is on the TU Online Services account, and that will give that individual who they authorize the ability for the bursar's office and the Office of Financial Aid to talk to you about all the details as it relates to the financial account or the financial aid account. But without that release of information form being completed, we will not be able to disclose any information about the account. So if you call us on the phone, if you show up in person, and we do not have that completed release of information form that would be done by your student, we will not be able to talk to you until that release of information form is completed. This is a federal program and a federal act, and we do need to comply with those regulations. So at this time, I'm going to turn over the program to Hope, who is one of my colleagues from the Office of Financial Aid.
Hi, how is everyone? I'm going to talk to you about the financial aid at Towson. The first step to financial aid at Towson is to fill out your Fafsa. The Fafsa is opened each year in October. The 21-22 Fafsa was opened this October, but that doesn't mean it's too late for you to file that Fafsa. You can file it at any time. That determines your eligibility for your federal Pell Grant, any student loans, and also your opportunity to get a Parent Plus loan. You can go to the next slide. FAFSA sometimes selects verifications, a portion of verifications, for FAFSA's for verification. If your FAFSA is selected for verification, we will be asking you for a lot of information. You're going to want to do the verification worksheet that's located on the Towson online forms. You'll also get an email with a link to it, so check your TU email frequently. If you use the IRS data retrieval tool when you do the FAFSA, the verification process is much easier, so we always recommend that you use the IRS data retrieval tool. If not, we're going to be asking you for your tax information. The tax information we'll ask you for is prior year. So for this year, for 21-22, we're going to be asking you for 2019 tax information. So everyone should have that done. If this verification is not finalized, we cannot let any aid go through. This is a federal process. It's not selected by Towson, it's selected by the federal government. We need to do the verification in order for all the financial aid to be dispersed. Next slide. So some of the different types of aid you can get that you will definitely be eligible for. Actually, everyone is eligible for student loans. So you're going to have a couple different kinds of student loans. The first kind of student loan is a subsidized loan. That is a needs-based loan. So not everyone is eligible for it. The subsidized loan is the loan where the government pays your interest while you're in school. So if you are offered $2,000 in subsidized loan, it will remain $2,000 until you drop below 6 credits or graduate. So you have to be within 6 credits for it to stay that way. So you have to keep taking classes in order to remain interest-free. The other kind of loan that we have is an unsubsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan is a guaranteed loan. So everyone has access to the unsubsidized loan, all students. You get a certain amount depending upon the grade level that you are. So for freshmen, you are guaranteed a student loan level of $5,500. For sophomore, it's $6,500. And then for the junior senior level, it's $7,500. Some of that may be offered to you in subsidized loan. Some of it may be offered in unsubsidized loan. So it just depends on that need through the FAFSA, but they are guaranteed. So you can get those without a cosigner. You can get them without a credit check. So that's the first kind of loan. The second kind of loan is a Parent Plus loan. So obviously the amounts I gave are not significant enough to be able to pay that bursar bill that you're going to have. So you may need to apply for a Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan is, you have to go to www.studentaid.gov, same place you do your FAFSA, and you can fill out the Parent Plus loan. It's an automatic, they'll tell you right away whether or not you've received the loan, whether your credit was accepted. It's a light credit check, pretty easy credit check is what I mean by that. They don't dig too deeply. So it is accessible to most students, the Parent Plus loan is. And then there's also the kind of, or most parents, I apologize, most parents. The other kind of loans there are private loans. You would have to seek those out via your bank or any other private lender. You can Google student loans if you want to try and find a private lender. We do suggest you go first with the federal government because those loans have fixed interest rates and they are backed by the federal government. So that is why we tell you about those loans first. Any of the alternative student loans, you would have to get those on your own. And if you're a student, 9 times out of 10, you will have to have a cosigner to get that loan. Next slide. Oh, I already talked about plus loans. I'm sorry. I will say from the previous slide, I apologize. You do have to sign a master promissory note and do entrance counseling when you're a student to get the loans. So for the plus loans, you can apply and you'll be approved. If you're denied, you can appeal that decision. You can get an endorser to help you parents with the plus loan, and the student, if you're denied, can request additional unsubsidized loans. Thank you. The alternative loans, like I said, you have to get them through the lender. The loan priority deadline is June 1st. So basically what that means, the loan priority deadline being June 1st is we have a lot of loans coming in the summer. So in order to get that in, to make sure that it's processed by the time your bill is due, you want to get those loans in and processed, all the master promissory notes, everything signed, everything done by June 1st so that we can process it. That doesn't mean if you haven't done it by June 1st, you shouldn't. Please continue to do it. We will process them as quickly as we possibly can. All processed aid will disperse August 20th. Any excess aid, meaning if you have something left over after your bill is paid to the bursar, Towson will always take their money first, pay the bursar bill, and then any other aid will disperse to you in a rebate check. And if you are unable to if you don't have enough funding, you'll have to make alternative arrangements to pay to avoid the late fee.
Okay, Hope, thank you very much. As Hope had outlined, if there is surplus financial aid after the semester bill has been paid, that will generate what is called a financial aid rebate. And we, the bursar's office, are obligated to refund those financial aid surplus funds back to the student. Now, there is also what is general refunds. Let me give you an example of a general refund. Maybe your student has purchased a meal plan, and it was the 19 meal plan. And after they've been here for a week, they realize that 19 meals is just too many. And you and your student make a decision to change the meal plan from 19 down to 14. So, that adjustment is made as it relates to the number of meals that are available, but now there is a financial credit. And the bursar's office is responsible for making any general refunds back to the student. All refunds, all financial aid are made back to the student, not back to the parent. It is the student's account. Now, we have another business partner that works with us as it relates to processing financial aid rebates as well as refunds, and that is Bank Mobile. The student will come to the bursar's website, to the Disbursement Online Center. We also call that the doc. And they will identify how they would like to receive their financial aid rebate or refund. There are three options. The first option is an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account. That is the most expeditious way to get a financial aid rebate or a refund back to the student. The second option would be a paper check mailed to the address that is the student would identify. Now, the downside of that, you probably have heard that there have been some issues with the United States Postal Service and their services of delivery. So if the student does select a paper check, it will go in the United States mail, and there may be a delay from the standpoint of them receiving that. The final option is really the default. If the student selects nothing, and they are eligible for a financial aid rebate or a refund, that will be a paper check made payable to the student, and it will be mailed to the address that is in the student information system. Again, I strongly suggest that your student wants to sign up for an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account. Now, parents, a tip for you. Some of these financial aid rebates and refunds are some significant amounts of money. I would strongly suggest that you may want to open up a joint checking account or savings account with your student to help them manage those funds. Here at Towson, we have PNC Bank. They have a brick and mortar right in our student union. Also, there is a satellite state employee credit union facility in our West Village building. And there are multiple banks that surround this campus. So again, I strongly suggest that you may want to think about setting up a joint checking account or savings account with your student to help them manage those funds. Next slide, please. Now, back in 1979, the federal government passed a Higher Education Tax Relief Act. And that was to provide a tax credit for higher education of out-of-pocket payments. I repeat, that was a tax credit for out-of-pocket payments. And the IRS requires the colleges and universities to provide what is called a 1098-T tax credit form. We are required also to provide that tax form to the student on or before the 31st of January of each year. And we always hit that mark. However, we do have this tax form, this 1098-T tax form, electronically. However, the IRS requires the student to select that they want to receive the electronic version. Now, here's the plus side of the electronic version of the 1098-T form. Number one, we usually have that available much earlier than the January 31st mailing date. The student will receive an email from the bursar's office informing them that their 1098-T tax form is available for pickup. Now, when my daughter was a undergrad, I couldn't wait to get that tax form in my hands because she was my financial dependent and I wanted to take advantage of utilizing that tax credit form. So you may want to do the same, but we have to have your student come to the bursar's website and select that they wish to receive the electronic version of the 1098T tax form in lieu of having a tax form mailed to them to their home address. Next slide, please. So let me go over some action items that are very important. First of all, as Hope outlined, there is a financial aid to-do list. And your student needs to be looking at that financial aid to-do list all the time to make sure that all things are completed. Also, if you and your student are interested in any of the loans, the federal loans, you need to be making that application as soon as possible. The quickly that you get that information in, then the Office of Financial Aid will be able to process that. Now, I've already communicated to you that your student's fall semester bill, e-bill due date is September 8th. And you need to be paying the semester bill and any monthly statements on time. There are due dates that will be identified on the e-bill, so you do need to make sure that you are paying those e-bills as well as the monthly statement on time to avoid any late fee. And we do charge a late fee for any bills that are paid late. Now, have your student complete the release of information form so that if you call us about their financial account or their financial aid account, we'll be able to speak with you and give you all the details as it relates to their account. But without the release of information, we will only be able to disclose that information to your student. Now, when my daughter was a freshman here at Towson, she got the email from the bursar's office. It directed her to the TouchNet e-bill portal. She authenticated herself and she picked up her e-bill. Did she give it to me? Absolutely not. Several days before the bill was due, one of my bursar associates told me that her bill had not been paid. Was I embarrassed? I'm the director of the bursar's office. And I immediately paid the bill utilizing the Tiger installment plan. And I said, I am never going to let this happen to me again. So what we have offered is the ability for your student to authorize you as an authorized user of their e-bill. But your student has to complete that for you. You cannot complete it for yourself. Now, in addition to your student getting the email to their TU email address, we will send the email to the address that you provide to let you know that a e-bill is available. You'll have full access to their financial account to be able to review it. But without the authorizing you as a user by your student, you will not have those services available. Now, your student just needs to come to the bursar's website. Under frequently asked questions, there is instructions how they can set you up as an authorized user. Have your students set themselves up through the Disbursement Online Center for any financial aid rebates or any refunds. And again, I emphasize that the most expeditious way to get their financial aid rebate or their refund is with an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account. Bank Mobile will actually email your student when the money is in their account. And then finally, please have your student go ahead and sign up for the electronic version of the 1098T tax credit form. That will help us from the standpoint of eliminating the mailing of that form, and you'll get it a lot quicker. Next slide, please. The bursar's office is located in the Enrollment Services Center. I have to be very honest. This building reminds me of a World War II bunker. It is the only building that doesn't really match the rest of the campus, and you can't miss us. The bursar's office is located, as well as the Office of Financial Aid, are located on the 3rd level. Next slide, please. Now, here is all the points of contact for both the Office of Financial Aid and the bursar's office. Now, if you have some questions, we have excellent websites, and we have excellent websites that include frequently asked questions. We ask you to go ahead and utilize our website, frequently asked questions, to see if the answer is there for you. If it is not, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We do have various staff that are available to take your phone call to answer your question. But if you prefer to email us, please, feel free to go ahead and email your question. But you need to allow at least 48 hours for us to get back to you. Our email activity is pretty heavy when we're leading up to bill payment deadline. But if you can just allow and give us about 48 hours or around that period of time, we'll get back to you. But please consider utilizing our websites as a point of contact from the standpoint of answering any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So thank you very much for your attention. I know that your student will have an excellent academic career here at Towson, as my daughter did. And thank you for your attention. And I'm going to turn the program back.
Thank you, Tom and Hope. I actually haven't had any questions come through the chat for you. So I'll give one last call for questions about bursar and financial aid. So we had a question come in. If we're splitting the payment with our student, can we make 2 payments from different accounts onto their bill?
Sure. We don't care how the payments come and from what sources. We have that occur occasionally, and you would utilize the payment portal to make the e-check ACH payment and just the dollar amount that you want to pay out of that individual account and the dollar amount from another account. Or if you're mailing in a paper check, then we accept both any form of payment as long as we have the student's name and their ID number on the memo section. We'll be able to process those payments also.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, that is all I see. So thank you, Tom, and thank you, Hope. And like Tom mentioned, they have great contact information if you have additional questions. All right. So up next, I see Katie Cordwell from Housing and Residence Life has joined our call. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm here to talk to you today about Housing and Residence Life. My name is Katie Cordwell. As Catherine said, I'm the Assistant Director for Business and Administrative Services here. So I manage our contracting, deposit, assignments process for the university housing. So a little bit of information about what move-in's going to look like and what living on campus will look like for your student. Move-in for new students is Wednesday, August 25th for students with last names beginning with A through M, and Thursday, August 26th for students with last names N through Z. Now, students will be able to choose their move-in time, and specific instructions on how to do that will be included with their housing assignment, which will be emailed on Friday, August 6th at 5 p.m. If for some reason you can't make the 26th and that's the date you're assigned and you want to change to the 25th, you will also be able to change your move-in requested date at that same time. When assignments go out, there'll be instructions on that process. Now, what is it going to be like living inside of a building on campus? So inside of our buildings, we do have resident assistants, which are upper class students, sophomore or plus, that live on the floor and help students build community, and they have structured engagement and connect students to different resources available on campus. And then within the building, the person that supervises our resident assistants is a master's level professional that lives and works in that building. So that level of staff serves in an on-call rotation if there's ever an issue outside of the 9 to 5, 8 to 5 business hours. As I'm sure you already know, there is a vaccine requirement, so students will be required to either be vaccinated or have an improved exemption to live on campus. The review and approval process is operated out of the University Health Center, so we will not, as Housing and Residence Life, have information on a student's vaccine status. However, if they have not either submitted their paperwork or have an approved exemption, they will not be able to move in until that process is complete. Roommates, at this point, students are not able to request roommates as we're already deep into our assignments process, less than about 2 weeks until assignments go out. So if they didn't request one on their application, they will have one randomly assigned. And we don't ask, screener questions such as, do you like your room clean? Do you go to bed early? Because we found that how a student behaves in high school and potentially living at home is different than how they may behave once they arrive at the university. So what we really rely on to help with our roommate pairs is completing a roommate agreement together. So helping them get comfortable with establishing boundaries with their roommate, coming up with a shared set of agreements of how they can live together, such as how many guests are allowed, what time do the lights go off, are we allowed to share items, and then use that as a jumping off point if there's ever an issue. We can review that roommate agreement with them, help them to solve their problems through communication. In each space, we do provide a number of pieces of furniture. So in all of our residence hall spaces, they have an extra long twin bed, desk, chair, a dresser / closet or wardrobe, depends upon the space, and a micro fridge. And then if a student's living in an apartment, they have the same furniture as the residence halls, except a micro fridge isn't inside of their bedroom since they have the full size refrigerator and refrigerator and microwave in their kitchen. The one exception to that is Carroll and Marshall Hall has different size beds because they are single bedrooms. They have double extra long beds. As we talked about what it's like to live inside of their building, we do have a number of safeguards for students on building safety. So only students living in the building will actually have access to the building. Their one cards is what they will use to swipe to get into the building. And they also have to swipe it to get into the elevator or first floor stairwells to then move throughout the building. And the way that we sort of check and balance this is our front desk is staffed 24/7 by either a student staff member or security personnel overnight, and they are required to have their guests sign in at that desk. Students will be limited to no more than 3 guests to sign in per 24-hour period over this next year. And guests are required to provide a photo ID to be able to be checked in. This does include parents and families if you need to be checked in outside of move-in weekend. So things that you would want to make sure your student brings with them: bedding, bath towels, those aren't provided. Kitchen supplies like plates, cups, single cup coffee makers are allowed. Electronics. Big thing to note is that we do not allow extension cords. We only allow the UL approved power strip with circuit breaker for fire code. And our TV service is a streaming service through Comcast. So they want to make sure if they want to utilize watching TV on a physical TV and not their laptop, that they have some streaming device, whether it's a smart TV, a Roku, to make sure that they're able to do that. Health and hygiene. So any personal toiletries, first aid kit, medicine that would be necessary for your student. Laundry and cleaning. There are laundry rooms available in each of our residence halls, 1 room per residence hall with multiple washers and dryers. And it's $1.25 to wash, $1.25 to dry. And students can either add money onto their one card or use coins to pay for that. And then any school supplies that may be needed. Things that we want to make sure are left at home: weapons, candles and incense, any cooking appliances with exposed heating elements, no space heaters or air conditioners. All of our buildings have air conditioning and are heated, so those are not necessary. And we do not allow students to bring their own microwave and refrigerator, since that is something that we provide. We also don't allow cinder blocks or bed risers. Our beds actually do increase to quite a high height. So if you wanted your bed raised, your student's bed raised at move-in, they can submit a work order, and our team is going around that day trying to get those done for everyone. And then no pets are allowed except for fish. Fish tanks cannot be bigger than 10 gallons and may not have electrical equipment. The one exception to this is if your student needs an emotional support animal, they can go through the registration process with accessibility and disability services for that. So while we do have a vaccine requirement, we are also still reserving isolation and quarantine spaces for this upcoming year. So that's designated space in one of our residence halls for isolation and quarantine. If a student is deemed needed to isolate or quarantine due to COVID-19, the health center will let them know, and they will be placed into a room and all of them will be single occupancy. Meals will be arranged for them to be dropped off in collaboration with our dining services staff. And then we'll have support for them. The University Health Center will do outreach at the beginning of the process, and then our residence life staff will also always be available for support. So important dates to keep in mind as we are moving forward. Room assignments will be sent via email to your student's TU email address on August 6th at 5 p.m. There's that move-in dates for new students on the 25th and 26th. Want to make sure that we move in on those 2 dates so that your student's able to participate in the Welcome to TU activities, which is the continuation of their orientation over that opening weekend, the 26th through the 29th. And then classes will start on August 30th. So that is my presentation for now. Catherine, if there are any questions that have come in, I'm happy to answer them.
I have not received any questions so far. So if anyone has housing and residence life questions, please feel free to ask them. All right. Well, it looks like we're good for housing and residence life. So thank you, Katie. Oh, we've got one coming in. Would transfer students be placed in a first-year dorm or with upperclassmen?
So we do not have any buildings that are just first year halls. Now our residence halls do typically house our first year sophomore students, but our transfer students will be placed where there's space available. So the first place that we try to go to is to our apartments, but it will just depend upon how much space is available. But we will try and keep transfer students as roommates and incoming freshmen as roommates and not place them together as best as we are able to.
Excellent. And we have someone else asking for you to repeat the phone number.
Our phone number?
Yes.
410-704-2516.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Katie. And we are going to transition to talking about some family resources for you. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. The thing that I like to help families navigate is using some of our resources found online. So I'm going to start with our Towson University website. So that's just towsonuniversity.edu. We are going to first look at the search function. And so if you're on the Towson University website and you're using the search function here, you can go ahead and search for anything that's on your mind. So if you wanted to learn more about housing and residence life, we can type that in. And it'll direct us right to the housing website. I like to show off that search function because 99% of folks' questions can be answered by going to the towson.edu website and using the search function. The other website that you should know about is towson.edu/families. Now, this website is a hub for all of the resources that we provide, particularly to you as family members. The first and most important resource that I can't stress enough is this Family Communications TU for Families newsletter. You're going to want to go to towson.edu/families and hit this button. Our TU for Families newsletter is a free newsletter that will keep you updated of all the information specific to Towson, news and notes, updates, notable events. But what's really important is that it also puts you on the email list for when Towson University makes important announcements. So that's the list that we use to alert families when major things like closing for COVID, like requiring the COVID vaccine, that was the list that was contacted via email. And so you're going to want to make an account. Like I said, it's free. You don't need to have any credentials to make that account. So anyone in your family could make a TU for Families account, and that's totally fine. And so we definitely invite you to do that in order to make sure that you have access to important information. So when you make your TU for Families account, you're going to log in and you'll have a page that looks something like this. It's very reminiscent of a Facebook news feed if you're on Facebook. And if you scroll down, you can see different resources that were posted to TU for Families. So for example, here is a article on tips that help you cope with change. Here's some news about TUNE, our TU in Northeastern Maryland campus, about a notable alumni. So we post to this TU for Families website pretty frequently. The other things that are notable about this website are the calendar. So we upload the academic calendar here every semester. And then on the left-hand side, you see that I have a column that says My Communities. And so you're able to indicate things that you're interested in. So if you are interested in diversity resources, as a transfer family, you'll when you make an account be asked about your student, if they are a transfer, what year are they transferring, those sorts of things to be placed in some of the right communities. And then some of them you can indicate yourself. The scholarships and financial aid community is definitely a popular one. So this is what the TU for Families website looks like when you sign into it. However, the other great feature about this website is that it serves as an e-newsletter as well. The way that works is when you make your account, you indicate how often you'd like to be emailed the newsletter. If you select, say, every 2 weeks, which is our most popular option, every 2 weeks, you will receive an email in your inbox with everything that's been posted to the portal in the last 2 weeks. That means you don't have to keep signing in to look for information that's just routine. It will be emailed to your inbox in one single digest, however often you tell it to. We do have the ability to use this system to push alerts and updates, and that will be for really emergent updates from Towson University. We don't use that to spam you with things like cool alumni or being proud of programs. We use it to send you alerts for things like closures and really vital updates. So that's what this website is all about. TU for Families. I can't stress enough that you need to sign up for this. So going back to our TU towson.edu/families webpage. The next resource I'm going to send you to is that we are posting all of the recordings of our family orientations here on the website. So if you want to revisit today's presentations, what we've talked about today, if you want to skip right to a specific topic, we have virtual sessions by topic. And so say you just wanted to go through the bursar and financial aid presentation again, you could go right there and watch the recording of their single presentation. So after today, I think I will be able to catch up with all of these recordings and they will all be posted to the website. So that will stay up there for you for a while as a resource. You can also log in at any time to the pre-orientation module. That will cover a lot of the similar information as these presentations, but you can click through at your own pace. This Conversations for the Car Ride Home document is a good one for you to start having some discussions with your student about what you expect from them when they start here at TU. And it's just a good way, a good starting point to have tough conversations about what college could be like. Even though your student has some college experience, this is a good time to check in and revisit, are things working the way that you want them to between you and your student. And then we have the Towson Family Network. So if you hit visit the Towson Family Network, that will take you to their homepage. And the Towson Family Network is a membership-based organization that supports our fellow families and students here at TU. It is a $50 membership. And so you can use this button right here to click on that and donate your $50. It is technically a donation, tax deductible to Towson University. And if you donate that $50 and become a member of the Family Network, you'll be a member as long as your student is enrolled here as an undergraduate. That membership fee does things like support our TU for Families newsletter. It also supports some other family programming. And we use it to support the Student Emergency and Food Insecurity Fund. And that's something that's really important to us. The Student Emergency and Food Insecurity Fund helps students who find themselves in financial situations that would mean that they wouldn't be able to stay here at TU, or that they don't have access to the food that they need in order to be a great student and be able to focus on their classes. And so we do donate a portion of membership fees to that fund. If you join the Family Network, you also receive some benefits. And one of the primary benefits is access to the Family Network scholarships. So we do have 3 scholarships. They're typically about $1,000 a year. And if you are a member of the Family Network, your student is eligible to apply for those scholarships. It is an application where they will indicate that they are related to a Family Network member, fill in some demographic information, and then write a few short essay prompts to apply for these scholarships. So like I said, that's definitely a perk, a benefit of joining the Family Network. We also have some leadership positions in the Family Network. And so you'll see here our 2021 Board of Directors listed, and we should have some opportunities for additional people to join the Board of Directors. And so if you're interested in taking on some additional responsibilities, that could be an option for you as well. The last family piece that I want to share with you all, I'm going to use the search function to get there, is Family Weekend. So Family Weekend has been determined this year to be October 8th through 10th. If you go to the Family Weekend website, eventually you'll find a schedule of events, a link to purchase or sign up for tickets. We have very few paid events. Most events are free, but some events do require you to reserve a spot just for seating and the ability to fit everyone. And so this is our Family Weekend website. It will continue to be updated with more information. But like I said, October 8th through 10th. So please save the date, and we hope to see you here at Towson's campus. You can also from there see the local accommodations website. We do have some folks who provide some Towson discounts to people affiliated with the university. And so you can also look up Visit Campus, and that will take you to a local attractions and accommodations page. Let me see if I can find it for you. Where you'll be able to see some hotels that have TU friends and families rates. So those are some great things for y'all to be aware of as you navigate the college experience with your students. So I am going to open it up for any questions that we have prior to taking a break. All right. Well, we do have some break time for you so that you can step away from your screen, do anything that you need to do. We will be starting back here with the health center. Please plan to be back on the Zoom call at 2:45 p.m. and we will pick back up then. So enjoy your break. go ahead and pick back up with our family orientation. As promised, we have a representative from the health center here with us. So I am going to turn the presentation over to Allison Seeley.
Thank you, Catherine. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Virtual Towson. My name is Allison Seeley. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Health Education and Promotion. So I'm here to talk with all of you about the University Health Center, the services that we offer, as well as some important tidbits that will be helpful for you as you help your student get ready to come to Towson in the fall. If you have questions throughout this presentation, feel free to chat them. We will talk about them at the end. Oops. So starting off with the services that we offer, the health center has a wide array of services that range from emergency or urgent care services to, sorry, not emergency, I meant urgent care services to primary care services. So things like treatment for common illnesses or injuries, physical exams, GYN exams, allergy shots, contraceptive or birth control counseling and services, testing for STIs or other kinds of lab services. We do have a lab in our facility, or a phlebotomist in our facility. We've got immunizations that we offer, as well as tuberculosis testing. We've got tobacco cessation services. We have a dietitian on campus. A fun tip, we have a massage therapist on campus that sometimes will work with students' insurance to cover the cost of that service. And then of course, we've got what I do, which is health education. So outreach and programming and events on how students can maintain their health and well-being while they're at campus or on campus. So our goal here is to be your students' primary care service while they're at Towson University. So all of these services are standard. That's all stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. And we hope that your student will feel comfortable reaching out to us if they need any of these kinds of things while they're at Towson. We have an array of providers, from physician assistants, medical doctors, nurse practitioners, who are all excited to provide that primary care service to your students. We do accept appointments during typical business hours. So Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is when we are open. Outside of those typical hours, we do have a nurse advice line. So if folks call the main Towson Health Center phone number, they will speak with someone at all hours of the day and get support for after hours concerns as needed. We also have an online web portal. So folks are encouraged to have their students visit tigerhealth.towson.edu. This is our secure web portal. Folks can schedule appointments online, chat with their provider. They can upload important information, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. Of course, folks can make a phone call to schedule their appointments. That number for the health center is listed on the screen. It's 410-704-2466. And then of course, we will accept some walk-in appointments on a case-by-case basis, depending on availability with our schedules. So if a student has an urgent need, they can come to the health center, walk in and get an appointment. The best tip is to come in early to beat that rush. But yeah, those are all the different ways that folks can make appointments. We do operate with insurance. So our students who visit the health center and want to use our services can share the insurance information with us, and we will bill for insurance. If students do not have insurance, they can sign up for our Towson University insurance plan through Aetna. We don't collect any fee for service at the time of their visit. So if someone has a co-payment that they owe, that will be billed later through the Versar account or through their TU1 card. When students are enrolled at Towson University, they are not automatically signed up for health insurance. We do not have what's called a hard waiver. But if they would like to purchase our insurance, they can do so by visiting the aetnastudenthealth.com. On that main page, it'll look kind of like what's on the screen here. So you'll click the drop-down menu and select Towson University, and you can view the insurance plan information, the cost, and then you can get signed up right in that website there. We do accept a wide array of insurance plans. They are listed on our website. I can share that link with you all after the presentation is over. But things like Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Maryland Medicaid plans. There's endless list. I will share it with you all afterwards, but the best way for you to know if your student will be covered by their insurance plan is if you call that number on the back of your insurance card. It's usually like the customer care, customer service number. If you call that number and say, hey, this person on this plan is going to be enrolled at Towson University in the fall semester, I want to make sure that they're covered, or I want to know more about the coverage for services at the Towson University Health Center. Your insurance plan should be able to walk you through what is covered, what kinds of payments you might expect for that kind of service. So the important pieces that I wanted to go through about immunization requirements, these are the things that all students will need to do to be considered in compliance for the fall semester. So all students on our campus need to submit proof of an MMR, so measles, mumps, rubella vaccination, Tdap, which is the tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis vaccination. They also need to submit a tuberculosis risk screening questionnaire. And then if a student is living on campus in one of our residence halls, they will also need the meningitis A vaccination. We recommend meningitis B, though it is not required at this time. All of those documents will be required to be submitted, and I'll go through that process with all of you, but they will be required to be submitted by August 15th. So that date is coming up pretty quickly. That is a little under a month away now. Students who are not in compliance and have not submitted that information by the stated deadline will have a $50 fine on their account. And they will also have a hold so that they will not be able to register for classes in the following semester. So it is important that the students complete this requirement and are compliant when they're on campus. And like I said, I'll review that process in just a moment. But I did want to take a moment to review the COVID-19 vaccination guidelines. So this is separate from what the health center requires. This is a part of the University System of Maryland. So Towson University, as a part of the University System of Maryland, is requiring all students, faculty, and staff on campus in the fall to be vaccinated against COVID-19. We do accept medical and religious exemptions. Those are all submitted. So proof of vaccination or exemptions are submitted through the towson.edu/vaxverify website. That is required to be submitted by August 9th. So that is a different date. Make sure you are noting the two different dates there. The first one was August 15th. This one is August 9th. If you do have questions about the coronavirus vaccination or the coronavirus response on our campus, that link is listed on the screen as well. It's towson.edu/coronavirus. Again, these are separate things. So what you're going to be doing for the coronavirus vaccination is not going to be the same thing that you're doing for the MMR, Tdap, meningitis, and tuberculosis vaccination information. All right, so let's get through that process. The first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to gather records of immunization. So for some folks, that'll mean contacting your primary care doctor or your student's primary care doctor. Maybe when they were a young child, they had a passport that that proved when they got their vaccinations done. Basically, we need some kind of documentation that is legible in English and includes the information of the dates of the vaccination. So that is what we require. If you don't have access to a form like that, or your provider needs a copy or needs a form to complete, we do have a form on our website. And it looks like what's on the screen there. If you go to the health center page, it is available through a quick search. But this is the information you'll need before you submit everything online. Once you've got paperwork, you'll visit the towson.edu/health center page. And then on that first page, there's going to be a chunk of information about new students, and you can click on the black box down here that says Tiger Health Portal. So if you visit the Tiger Health Portal, that's where you're going to be submitting this information. When your student goes to log in, they're going to need to use their Towson University username and password. So whatever it is that they use to sign into all their other Towson University stuff, that's what they're going to use in our Tiger portal. Once they're logged in, they're going to have to confirm their birth date. So we'll just make sure that they've put their birth date in, click proceed. And on that main landing page, there's going to be these two red links. And these are what you'll need to complete in order to be compliant with our immunization policies. So the first thing you can click is the required immunization history. If you click that link, you'll be taken to a screen that looks kind of like this. You will type in the dates for the different doses of all of the vaccines that are required. So the MMR vaccine, the Tdap vaccine, and the meningitis A if your student is living on campus. Once you put those dates in, there is a place where you can upload your immunization record. So this is where you're going to upload that form. This is acceptable in JPEG, PDF, PNG format. All of those things are acceptable. So if you need to take a photo of the document on your phone, that should work just fine, but it does need to be uploaded at the same time that you're putting in those dates manually. Once you're done with that, you're going to click Submit Final, and that will complete this part of the requirements for immunizations. Then you'll want to go back to that home screen and click the second link there that was in red. So this is the tuberculosis exposure risk screening questionnaire. When you click that, it'll take the student to this page. They're just going to check off the information, answer the questions. It's pretty brief. And at the very end, they'll click Submit Final. If anything is like flagged in that response, follow-up instructions will be given to your student. While you're in that system, we recommend uploading pictures of the insurance information for your students. So take a photo of the front of the insurance card, take a photo of the back of the insurance card, and upload them in the patient portal. That'll ensure that your student has that information already uploaded in our system so that our providers can make sure that they're sending all the information to the right place and ensuring the right, or billing the right insurance. And then the last thing I wanted to mention for all of you, so that was all the stuff that you'll need to have your student complete before they come to campus. But the last piece I like to leave folks with is about privacy. So we do operate under FERPA and HIPAA. So all medical information for adult care remains private. So students are able to grant permission to share medical information on a case-by-case basis. So they can complete a medical records release form for individual visits or individual purposes. So it is episodic. There is no such thing where they can release access to all of their health information for forever. So that's basically to say that please respect your students' privacy. They are now in the care of the Towson University Health System. That being said, if there is an emergency situation and you are registered as the designated emergency contact with Towson University, you will of course be contacted. So just make sure that you are including the correct information for the emergency contact with Towson University. That way, if there is a situation where your student is in an urgent need of support, or they're being transported to a hospital or something like that, we are able to contact the right person. That is all the information for me. So I am on this screen here, we've listed some of the important contact folks for the health center. We've got the director of the health center on the left there, that's Yuling Shao. His email, we've got Allison Rohrbach, who is the associate director, that's her email. And then my information is on the right. As I said earlier, I'm the assistant director, that is my email. If you have any questions about this presentation, you can absolutely reach out to us. Also on the screen are the health center website, the health center main email. So if you have any general questions, it's really easy to email the health center at towson.edu. We've also got our phone number there, which we are always available for. And then of course our social medias, if you want to keep up with what's going on with the health education folks, learn about some of the events or programs that are going on campus that have to do with health and well-being, definitely check out those pages. But that is all for me. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Catherine to see if there were any questions that came through.
We have not had any questions so far, so I'd invite anyone who has questions about the health center resources to put them in the chat.
And while you are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and chat what I said I would, which is the insurance plans that we work with. I must have done a great job today.
A fantastic job, as always. All right. Well, if you do think of additional questions, feel free to use the contact information that Allison posted. And we can also, of course, help facilitate any questions you have through new student and family programs. So thank you, Allison.
Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend.
I do see our next presenter, one of them on the call. Eric, are you ready, or do you want to wait for Stephanie?
I've been born ready.
All right. Well, then our next segment is going to be about academic advising. And so I'm going to pass it off to the great, the wonderful Eric Wilkos.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to make sure that we kind of touch base with each other. As you know, my name is Eric Welkos. I'm with the Academic Advising Center here at Towson, and academic advising is pretty big here. So I don't have a PowerPoint because I generally find that this particular group of families, I like to keep it as conversational as possible because I know everybody has some pretty good questions about how just advising generally works here for transfer students, generally speaking, but also how that first semester's classes will look and how they're getting registered. So I generally like to keep this conversational. So what I like to do is, if you have any questions, you're welcome to plug them right into the chat. You're also just welcome to unmute yourself if that's a possibility, and you can just ask away. So I guess before I get started, I just want to make sure that I'm giving relevant information. So I just have a few questions for the folks in the room. If you could, you're either welcome to show your screen and raise your hand, or you can give me one of these reactions. So at the bottom right of your screen, you'll see my screen. I have a thumbs up. I'm just curious to see who exactly I have in the room. So do I have anybody here who has a student who is coming from a Maryland community college? Okay, so you can give me a thumbs up or raise your hand. Okay, I'm willing to bet probably most folks in the room are coming from a Maryland community college. Do I have anybody coming from out of state? Okay, so we have some out-of-staters. All right, and then final question, and this might be more for your actual students themselves, but who here is coming either with roughly around 45 credits, or is your student bringing an associate's degree? Okay, so a few. So generally speaking, I just kind of want to give you an idea. Okay, so a lot of thumbs just popped up. So I want to give you an idea of what the transfer process looks like for these student types. Now, generally speaking, remember, at the end of the day, your student is just a Towson student, just like everybody else here, like our current students, like all the incoming freshmen. So at the end of the day, when they are coming in, it's basically just another Towson student. But the transition is just a little different. And so the way things work, just to kind of give you a good timeline of what's actually been going on. So your student, when they applied to Towson University, they obviously submitted their application. In many cases, students apply for majors that are different than their intention. And I'll talk about how we determine that a little later. But a student will apply for the major, and then when they are ready to commit, the student will then submit their enrollment contract. And that is essentially what lets us know that the student is committed and interested in Towson University. So then from there, that is when they kind of get almost like a deluge of information that they would need. So they will get next step processes from that point forward. And what that includes is orientation. So obviously this year, as with the last 3 semesters, are much different than we've been doing. So obviously we've been doing all of this virtually. And so your student has been provided information on 2 key aspects of the transition. One is the online orientation, and that is something that they've been doing online. They have access, even now they have access to it. And what's nice about that particular orientation is they have details that will give them information on how academics work here, on top of all of the other kind of typical things you would expect from orientation. But one of the important things that is on that that orientation module is students will go through a demo that describes and goes through detail on how exactly to register themselves for coursework. And that kind of leads me to my second bit. So we are actually, as I speak, in the midst of transfer orientation advising right now. And so the way that works is the student is then, after that orientation is done, the student is then asked to select the dates for advising. And so to give you a behind the scenes look, so I coordinate all of the incoming transfer advising for Towson University transfer students. So I effectively make sure that every department is represented to advise incoming students. So Not every department is advising every day, but there is enough representation of the departments where your students should be able to find a day that they would be able to sign up for a day, and then starting at 1 o'clock on each of those days, they meet with an advisor who's actually in their major. So that's not like a general advisor, that is actually somebody from the department who is intimately familiar with the curriculum. And these advisors have actually done work in advance to prepare for your students. So when your student originally came, they were asked to submit all of their transcripts. And so our transfer admissions team does a really good job on collecting all of that data and making equivalencies for those classes. And for the most part, I think most folks in this room looked like, I think they were coming from Maryland community colleges. Just remember that we are one of the university system of Maryland schools with those community colleges. So they are effectively under the same umbrella, under the same partnership. So if you have a student coming from one of those schools, we have seen those credits come in for decades, and we've also seen all of the updates for decades. So when it comes to getting credits evaluated, particularly when it comes to equivalencies, those are very easily understood and they come in no problem. But also remember, just because that is a university system of Maryland school, that doesn't mean that we don't see credits from 4 years. We have decades of data and updated data from outside institutions as well. So for those who are interested in seeing how that works, we have two systems that we use. The university system uses something called ARTSYS, ARTSYS, and ARTSYS is the university system's current database that collects all of that information and equivalencies between Maryland schools. But you're also welcome to check online. We have TESS, that's the transfer equivalency system. That is kind of our internal structure that the admissions office uses when reviewing credits. So there's a lot of data. We have a lot of equivalencies. So generally speaking, you should find that your students are coming in. And for those of your students who have completed roughly around like 45 credits, maybe up to an associate's degree, generally students are bringing in most of their, what we call our core curriculum. You might know it better as general education requirements, but they are going to come in with the vast majority of their core curriculum done, usually with the exceptions of cores 9 and core 14. And so core 9 is an advanced writing class. So this is generally a 300 level class. Core 14 is an ethics class that usually falls in line with a major's curriculum. So it is very rare for incoming students, transfer students, to even have those classes. And that's with purpose, because like I said, that usually will fall in line with a major's curriculum. So that's kind of what you can expect. So when a student is getting their first taste of advising, it is going to be during this initial orientation advising. They're going to access their Zoom room where they will be meeting with an advisor who is already prepared for them, and they're going to have certain courses for the student to register for, and also give them kind of a rundown of not only the major's curriculum, but also their particular college's culture and how things kind of operate there. So it's a really good introduction. When they leave, they will have their schedules for the fall. That schedule is unique to every student, because we do things here where there are some institutions that will do block scheduling. So what I mean by that is they will have incoming students, those students will have a specific amount of credits, and then rather than individually work with the student on each of their classes, other schools will essentially just give you a block schedule and you have to just select that. And so you have just a block of classes that's what you have to take. It's already predestined. At Towson, there's a little bit more autonomy for the students to kind of take the classes they want. So we go through each individual class. So it's a lot of work that we do, but it does make every single student's schedule unique. So that's kind of what they're going through. Now, that gives you a rundown of kind of advising generally as it happens right now. But I want to talk to you about, so what happens, like I said, transfer students at the end of the day are coming in, and they're not transfer students, they are Towson students. That is just regular Towson students. So I want to talk a little bit about how generally advising works here. So your student, when they arrive to campus, they will be paired with an advisor within the first 2 weeks of the semester. And so what I mean by that is that they are going to have firmly decided on their major. And then once we get past our add drop period, or what we call it at Towson, our change of schedule period, when there's always adjustments in the first week and a half of the semester. And then once all of that settles down, the data that we have for every student is essentially frozen. So that's when departments know exactly who they have in their classes, who they have in their majors. So then departments will then go in and they will know that they have new students coming in for that major, and they will be assigning advisors to your student. That student is a one-on-one faculty advisor from their department who they're going to be able to work with through the rest of their time here. And it's also not somebody that they have to completely commit to. So essentially, if they don't really jive too well with their advisor, they can always find a new one within their major. And that often will be somebody who is actually teaching them in their courses. And so one thing we kind of have a lot of layers of accountability. So not only will your student be required to be meeting with their advisor every semester to make sure that they're on track and getting the appropriate prereqs needed to graduate in the time that they're looking for, but we also have another layer of accountability, which is the degree completion plan. And so what that is, it's actually mandated by the state. So literally the state of Maryland is making us get this done, because the idea is that we want to make sure that the students are very aware of what progression they would need to continue with if they want to graduate on time. So by the time a student either reaches 45 credits or transfers in with their associate's degree, one of the very first academic advising holds that will be placed on their account is a degree completion plan hold. And that all that effectively means is that they are required to meet with their advisor and make a complete degree plan from that moment all the way up to them walking on stage to get their degree. So every semester, immediately, they will already be aware of what their semesters should look like. So essentially, I see comments that the degree completion plan is great. Yes, it's amazing. Students are given all of this information. Now, remember though, this can change because a lot can happen. So for example, if a student doesn't necessarily do well, they might need to retake a class. If a student changes their major, the degree completion plan can be warped entirely. So remember, this obviously things fluctuate. Like everything is fluid here. There's a lot of reasons why someone maybe who wanted to start full-time might need to go part-time for like work purposes. So obviously that might extend a little bit, but it still gives the student an understanding of the exact bits that they would need to go through and the exact prereqs they would need to kind of continue onward. So it's really good. And like I said, I mean, we have layers of accountability, and that's just the degree plan alone. That doesn't even include the mandatory advising that we have. So, Towson University, we have a very strong culture of advising. Academics is very big here, but the purpose behind it is we are trying to empower the student to take their curriculum into their own hands, so they have a firm understanding of what they need to do. And there are some students who work with advisors and just immediately get it. And so they'll work with their advisor just to make sure it's fine, and then they'll be able to follow their curriculum. There are other students who may not pay so much attention, and that happens. We have thousands and thousands of students here. So there are some students who might need to see their advisor or prefer to see their advisor more often to make sure they're on track. So all different types of students, but that's why we make sure we have at least one academic advisor paired with the student, all students at all times, to make sure that there's one person that is going to be able to kind of help them out throughout that process. So I think that is that is it. I do have some time for some questions, but before I do, I just kind of want to get on my soapbox briefly, because I always find this particularly important. I am willing to bet that most people in this room, well, let me back up. So I think there's a lot of language that floats around in higher ed, and one of them is the 2-year degree or the 4-year degree. But I think why I like working with transfer students so much, and I myself was a transfer student. Actually, I worked throughout my college entirely, all of my years at college. And so I'm willing to bet that most folks in this room, their students probably, most students I'm willing to bet are working and have other just general life stuff to balance out aside from the academics. And so I know that if your student was in, let's say, a community college getting a 2-year degree, I'm willing to bet there are a lot of folks who actually didn't get it done in 2 years because they were working and balancing all that stuff out. And so we want to make sure that at the end of the day, when the student is coming in here, we want to make sure that their schedule is going to be right for them. So for example, if the student is working part-time or even full-time, it's not advisable that the student register for full-time classes because obviously that is so much. And at the end of the day, we see a lot of students who they've completed maybe a 2-year degree, but it actually took them 4 years to do. And so we get it. Like it's a lot to balance out. And so that's why this one-on-one advising is so important, because it allows the student to be able to speak with your advisor about those challenges so we can give them a balanced schedule that won't overload them. You know, the vast majority of our students who are on academic warning and academic probation are transfer students. And this is exactly the reason why, is because students obviously would like to finish this degree as soon as possible. And oftentimes they can kind of rush through it because it's a big transition. So we've put measures in place like mandatory advising to make sure that we are always in communication with transfer students. There is so much more to balance out with transfer students, and no offense to freshmen, but I just don't think they get that. Transfer students, in my view, they are people and they are actually working. They have, in my view, are significantly more interesting because they are balancing out actual real life as opposed to just kind of mindlessly floating through their 4 years or however long it takes. So I just want to tell everybody that. And so when you are working with your student, either today or before school, and you're looking at their schedule and kind of talking with them about it, just talk to them and ask them, like, what's realistic here? Because we don't want students to, we don't want students to overload themselves, like I said. But, also, we understand, and I'm sure you do, that there's more to it than just taking your classes. There's work life. Some folks have kids, some folks are commuting. There's so much more. And so just remember, it's not a race, it's a marathon. And at the end of the day, it's better to finish coursework at your pace rather than overload yourself, fail a class, and then having to retake it. So anyway, that's my spiel. As you can see, I'm very passionate about working with transfers. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. So, I really enjoy it. And like I said, I connect really well with these students because I was in their shoes too. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. I think you have the ability to unmute yourself. If not, you're welcome to plug it into the chat and I can try to answer what I can.
Yes, they can't unmute right now, but they can chat any questions and we'll help.
Great, yeah, chat away and I'll answer what I can.
Are there job opportunities on campus, and is there a way to find out?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I don't know the exact statistic, but I do know that students who decide to work on campus are actually academically, they do very well academically. Because they kind of are, your students are probably well past this because they have been balancing out for a while now, but they're balancing out a schedule more than just kind of floating around. They have a little bit more responsibility. So actually, if at all, I encourage students to look for jobs on campus because the statistics are there. I wish I could give them to you, but I can tell you that though, it is they do really well.
I do know that it's 20 hours on campus. If a student works up to 20 hours on campus, they are statistically more academically successful.
Yeah. So I encourage that, and we have, we have resources for that.
I did post a link to the Career Center who hosts Handshake. Handshake is our on-campus job platform. And so that's where we're all, my office hires students. We're required to post all of our jobs there. So that's a good place for your student to look for on-campus jobs. We have another question for you. Student is transferring from Penn State. How will she know when her appointment is scheduled if she's coming to orientation on July 22nd? Would she need to do the Zoom meeting before coming to orientation on the 22nd?
So I guess I'm trying to understand. So the question, how will the student know if they are coming to orientation? Oh, is this the opt-in in-person orientation?
Oh, yes. I guess that they're coming to the in-person visit.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this, as far as I know, and this is probably a answer best given by Catherine, but I understand that there's been plenty of communication with the in-person. Now, just to be clear, that in-person orientation is just to familiarize the students with the campus. It's an optional in-person format, but the student, aside from that, does and may have already done this, but had the opportunity to do the virtual advising portion of that. So, yeah.
Yes, so if they are signed up to come in person, there's one transfer orientation left. If you could go ahead and private message me your student's full name, I'm going to go ahead and look them up because it's concerning that they haven't done that. So I'll take care of that for you. Any other academic advising questions?
Guess not. I guess that was efficient.
It was. This is a very self-sufficient group. Oh, I've got one more question.
Awesome.
It just says I have one more question. So I'm on the tip of my toes. Does advising also include professional careers, advising towards a career?
That's great. Yeah, it does. So remember that the advisor your student is paired with is not only, a faculty member who understands the curriculum intimately, but they have been or are professionals in their field currently. And so, departments do a really good job at keeping track of all those types of resources. But, when your student is working with that advisor, they're forming a relationship with somebody who already has that expertise. So it does involve a component of the career aspect, just inherently. Any other questions? All right, well, I'm going to get back to it. I have some advising to do. So,
yes, thank you for making some time for us, Eric. And you've been getting some heart reacts, so you're very appreciated.
Awesome. Well, yeah, nice to meet everybody. And yes, your students are in good hands. So all the best. Have a good one.
Thanks, Eric. All right. And so our last presentation of the day is about campus safety with Corporal Erica Hamilton. So I see them on the call. Hey there. Would you like to share your presentation or would you like me to? It worked good yesterday.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Perfect. All right. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I am Corporal Hamilton here with the Towson University Police Department. My unit is the Community Outreach Unit. So give me 1 second. Let me pull up my presentation. Here we go. Again, welcome families. I'm telling you right now, I'm so excited to see faces. So listen, you're sending your kids here. Some of them are transferring. I came in on the tail end of a person before me. We want you to be prepared, not scared at all. I know it's sometimes when you transfer, it's almost like kind of starting over because you're in a new home, a new territory. So My partner is Sean Gilligan. He is not on this presentation, but you will get a chance to see him again. The number on the bottom of this screen is one of the most important numbers outside of 911 that we would love for you to remember, which is 4444. That is a direct connection into our communication center here at Towson University. We have a department over 40 sworn police officers who are certified by Maryland Training Commission out in Sykesville, Maryland. We operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have 3 shifts, which is 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7. Towson University Police Department has received the Crime Prevention Governor's Award for 34 years consecutively. I am proud to say that I'm actually working on the one from last year. Even due to COVID, we still have been able to do some crime prevention things and interact with the students that were on campus and outside community events as well. So we're looking to get this for the 35th year as well. Not to mention that Towson is one of the top schools in the USM system that is safety. Safety is the top thing. And even though you look at the bottom of the screen, there's 12 schools in the USM system and Towson ranks top. Okay, we're stuck again. I'll pause. All right, wait, sorry, I got stuck. Okay, so we have over 2,000 cameras on our campus. Some of them are our blue lights. They are located throughout the entire campus. What these do, they have geolocators on the top of them. So for our transfer students and some of our freshmen and even some of the students and staff that are here, if there's ever a situation and you need to push that button, we've had a person that was in a wheelchair one time and they fell out. Another student was able to literally run a couple of steps, push the button and call for assistance. The phone, when it rings into the communication center, it lets our dispatcher know where this phone is. We immediately dispatch an officer out to that location to, get the help that is needed for that specific location. Our cameras are also manned by our ops team, which is our detective unit. So they're looking at these and it's like, you ever seen like a big video game wall where it's just like big old monitors? That's basically what that looks like. These are license plate readers. We tend to use the jargon of LPRs. What these do is they read tags. So people come onto our campus, a lot of times it's for special events or just visiting. So if someone has a tag that is not right, or someone may have a warrant or so, that then sends that then notifies Towson University dispatch that this tag is entered onto our campus. We then dispatch an officer out to where that LPR was read and we stop that vehicle. We want to know why you're on our campus. That is one of our other safety features that we have. And then once that's addressed, the person is either, dealt with accordingly, or a lot of times it's not even the driver. A couple of times it has been the tag was not was for someone else, or the person driving the car was not who we were looking for. So we have 10 of these on our campuses going into the garages, and 2 of them on the entrance to our stadium field. We offer safe walk, safe ride. This is another good feature here. This is our staff and students really use this. Our staff definitely uses it. I like to use the example of sometimes you can start on one side of campus and end up on the other side. And definitely during daylight savings time, it gets darker a lot faster. So we would like for students and staff to utilize this. Don't be afraid to call us. Hey, you know what? I just want someone else to walk with me to the garage. Or, hey, I live in West Village, but I was studying in Cook Library. It's okay. Dial the number at the bottom of the screen, 7233. Or if by chance you don't know this number, you can't remember, 4444, and you say, hey, I'm just calling because I just want to ride or walk over to my building, and this is given 24 hours a day. There's no charge for this, and we really would like for students to utilize this. A lot of times our students feel so safe that they don't use it. They'll just walk, and we don't really recommend that. But I mean, the campus is that safe where they don't feel unsafe by walking to their dorms at 3 a.m. So this is another thing that we have, which is our online property registry. We try to get students to register their bikes, their laptops, their iPads, any type of electronic devices that you have. What this feature does is, if once you register your items online, which is you would go to Towson University, in the search engine, you would put property registration. Once you click onto the property registration, it kind of prompts you how to register these items. And what this does, let's just say you have a bike and you didn't chain your bike up when you went into your dorm really quickly. Now, keep in mind, there are outside roads. I say someone rode down the street and decided, oh, this is a wonderful bike. I'm going to take this bike. And they tried to pawn it, which is a couple pawn shops, which is in the city, which is not that far from Towson. And you tell us, you say, hey, Corporal Hamilton, someone took my bike. Hey, did you ever register that on property registration? Yes, I did. Okay, let me look that up. We then enter that information into a database that sends us the store that they tried to pawn it and the person's identification. So we are able to have access to that information to retrieve your items. So we recommend, definitely, if you're riding your bike, if you have laptops, anything that has a serial number that can be tracked. And if by chance you don't do that, we will do it. We can do it for you. This is also free of charge. We'll just engrave it. If you don't have the serial number, a lot of kids, they come and they don't have the serial numbers from their previous laptops or old iPads and stuff like that. That's fine. We can use your whatever state license that you have. We'll use your ID number, and it is the same process, but we will just use your ID number to retrieve that information. We offer emergency text alerts. So if you look at the screen, critical safety alerts, the weather alerts, school closing, all of that stuff is good. However, this is a great feature for the simple fact that if something should happen on the campus, you are notified immediately. It's not also, you're not only notified through the text messaging, you're also notified through email. So parents, you can also put this on your phone as well. So if there's something that's happening on campus, you will also be notified. So again, I heard about transfer students. If you're living in Pennsylvania, I'm sure you want to know what's happening with your kid here. If you live in New York, you want to know those things. Even if you live here in Maryland, download this app so that you can get the same information that your student is getting at the same time. We offer RAD, which is a self-defense class. Right now, it's only given to women on the campus. Statistically, women have been the ones who have been assaulted by the opposite sex. However, we don't have one here, but there is a self-defense class for male students. We do not offer that here, but if you email me, my email is at the end of the presentation. You can email me and I will make sure that you have that information. We're not offering RAD this semester due to COVID. We're still trying to get that approved. But once it is, we typically put the notifications inside of all the dormitories, inside of Cook Library, and places where the students frequent, mostly the University Union and West Village, so that they'll know when it's available. Our Safer Mobility app. This is our app that has a FaceTime feature. So you have Safe Walk and you have Safe Ride. Well, this is kind of like Safe Walk a little bit, but when you download this app, which is free, if you have Android, you can do it from Google Play. If you have Apple, you can do it from your Apple Store. So you would download this app, you put your information in. So let's just say I like to use Cook Library because it's open to the public. So let's say you're in the library and something doesn't look right. You may see a student that just seems a little off. And what you do is you would go into that app, you would press the button. That then gives you FaceTime to our communication center for the police department. We actually see you, and I meant to say this the other day, we actually see you about 5 seconds before you see us. Then you begin to explain to us what the situation is. And if we say, can we see, there's a feature on your phone, just like if you would use your camera, to flip the camera around so we can see what you see in real time. We're then dispatching an officer out while we're talking to you at the same time. Let's just say you're not in Cook Library and you're a transfer student, a new student. You're not sure where you are. Once your finger comes off that button, we can activate the geolocator in your phone to let us know exactly where you are. And then the dispatcher then calls you back and then we'll dispatch an officer out to that location. They'll stay on the phone with you until the officer gets there. I know it seems like it's a lot, but we've had this activated quite a few times. And sometimes it's staff members that just want to stay on the phone with them while they're walking to their cars, through the garage. We've had a student that will say, hey, can you just stay on the phone with me while I walk to my dorm? That is not a problem for us. Again, like I said, we are here for the students and the staff's safety. I thank you for letting me share that information with you, but I'll add this as well. We're also equipped now with body-worn cameras. That is mandated by legislation now. Within the next 2 years, all police departments are going to be required to have body-worn cameras. When we do arrive on a scene and it is required to activate our cameras, we do have to let you know you're being audio and visually recorded. And that's just for the scene, whatever the situation may be. And that's pretty much all I have. My email is at the bottom of the screen. That's my partner's email. And if you guys have any questions, no question is ever a dumb question. So don't feel like it is. Please, please, please email me or put that information in the chat box.
I don't see any questions yet, so I'll give folks maybe a minute to see if there's anything that you want to ask Corporal Hamilton.
Okay.
Someone's requesting to see your contact information again. Would you mind resharing that screen?
No problem. And my phone number is 410-704-2212. And my partner's number is 410-704-6530.
They're also asking for the emergency number.
That is the 4444. So it would be 410-704-4444. And that's direct communication into our dispatch. Just another tidbit as well. We have direct communication with Baltimore County, which is literally a light away from the campus. So if there's anything your student just decides, well, I can't remember 4444. I mean, we've been taught 911 since we were, what, 4 or 5 years old. That seems like that's natural. So if they were to dial 911, we hear that call as well come through the other radio. So we're immediately dispatching officers there. It comes out, hey, a 911 call came from your campus. We're sending officers there immediately. So we have, that's another thing that I wanted to share with you all.
Can you repeat your direct line one more time?
Sure. 410-704-2212. I'll type it in the chat box.
I gotcha.
Oh, you did say you did.
No, all good. All right. Well, that looks like that covers all of the questions we had today. So thank you, Corporal Hamilton. I look forward to seeing you out and about.
Same here. You guys have a great weekend.
You too. All right, so that was the last presentation of our virtual orientation here. If you do have any additional questions for either Grace or I, I'll stay on the call for about 5 more minutes. But in the meantime, I'd like to reiterate, towson.edu/families is your hub for all of your resources, and that towson.edu search bar is going to be your best friend as you navigate the Towson University website. So with that, have a great afternoon and go Tigers.